G'day all, welcome back to the channel. We're back on the internet together again today. Multi-segmented show today. First up, we're talking Victorian crimes, more specifically unsolved Victorian crimes hitting record highs. Second half, we're talking about immigration, but more specifically lack of checks and balances on people coming in with violent backgrounds. So Australia's going to become the UK.
That thousands of Victorian victims of crime are being denied justice as the number of unsolved crimes in the state soars to nearly 300,000 in just 1 year. Now, that's the highest number ever on record. The latest data has revealed that almost half of all reported crimes over the past 12 months are unsolved. Here to talk us through the problem, but hopefully some solutions too, former Victorian homicide detective Charlie Bassina.
Good old Charlie, he loves going on rants too. Before we let Charlie go off tap here, have a think about that. There are 300,000 unsolved crimes. 300,000, not 30,000, not 3,000, 300,000. The joint is absolutely off its head. And Victoria actually is the crime capital of Australia. It's just, you just gotta shake your head at just how far the place has fallen. I'm a Victorian. More specifically, I live in Melbourne. And the joint has gone to the dogs.
We were just talking, I'll tell my people at home off camera to say, Victoria feels broken. And Charlie, people are not even angry anymore. They're despondent. People are often in tears with me.
Yep.
They're all talking about leaving the state.
Yep.
They've even lost confidence that if there was a change of government, is it so far gone in terms of this crime crisis, like places like Johannesburg, could a good police chief and a good police minister and a brand new premier, could they even turn this around?
Not in the short term.
Yeah.
Because it's too far gone. And this has been a quarter of a century in the making, since 2000, I can tell you, when the Chief Commissioner then said we don't have gangs. They took the eye off the ball and it's gone stronger and stronger and stronger.
No, he didn't say we don't have gangs. We don't have African gangs. We don't have that because that's not politically correct to call out an ethnicity, even though it's the blatant truth. Yeah, we don't have gangs. You've got the Apex gang running around and all the other gangs on the west side. Joint's an absolute basket case. The joint's broke as well. So the police can't even afford to hire more cops. And what about all the cops who would have left, the police that would have left the force by being unwilling to be the lackey of Daniel Andrews and Brett Sutton's health restrictions that they were putting on health in response to the pandemic, locking everybody up and booking people for going to McDonald's if it was 7 kilometres away from their house, or pulling people over who were driving on the road after 8 o'clock at night. Where have you been? Where do you live? Oh, that's not a 5 kilometre radius of your address. Show me your license. Yeah, no, I've got to book you. The old ringer still. Who wants to be doing that? Unless you're completely plugged into the system and thinks you need to lock people down and treat them like dystopians. Of course they're out. Of course they're going to get upset. And I don't think they have got a big budget because you're not seeing a lot of advertising on TV. To join the Victorian Police Force. Used to be a lot of it. A lot of propaganda and marketing materials out there. It's not there anymore. Maybe they've cut back on that because they don't have any money.
Consequences, and look where we are today. Look
at this. Assaults, right? Assaults. Offences against another person up 70.3%. Unsolved. 21,000 people have been assaulted. Unsolved. I'm not saying every case is going to get solved. That's 20,000 people. 21,000 people who've been bashed, robbed, mugged, whatever, have not going to see justice because there's just not enough capability or maybe not even so much capability, capacity to deal with it. Property offences. Aggravated burglaries. And thefts. Look how many thefts there are. So people's cars getting jacked. Straight to chop shops, probably. 40% of them. Up 40%.
have carjackings, home invasions. It's got more violent, and we've become...
And they've got younger.
Exactly, because consequences again. We've become prisoners in our own state. Talk about COVID being locked up. We aren't locked up. At home, I've got my own steering lock. I'll put that on the car. I've just put disconnected the power to my roller door. We are being bunkered into your own house because, you know what, the system's letting us down, driven by the government.
There's some comments to be made by someone else also connected with the whole crime backstory on 3AW, John Sylvester. Have a listen.
The new Chief Commissioner, Mike Bush, is coming out in a few weeks' time, and he said our ambitious plan is to cut the crime rate by 5%. Now, to do that, clearly it's going to be more patrols, more visible police presence in the hope that that will deter people from doing the crime. Well, that's going to be difficult because, you know, in the last month we've lost 100 police who've retired or resigned. That's 2,000 years experience that have gone.
Wow.
And when you're trying to drag people out of 9-to-5 jobs and say you're going to go back on the van, some of them will also say, no, that's not for me, and quit.
Why would you want to do this job? I know people get excited about it. You're going to become a detective. You're going to work in the special operations group. You know, you're playing too much Call of Duty or video games or watching movies as a young man. And you think, how awesome is this going to be? And you see the reality of it. You're dealing with junkies. You're dealing with violent offenders. You're just in the line of fire. You're seeing all sorts of horrendous shit every day. Why would you actually want to go and do that? It's not you're getting paid mega bucks for it. You're going out there putting your life on the line every single day of the week. Hats off to people in the police force who do that. But I could think of 1,000 other jobs I would want to do first. And then there's the point of resigning. It's just gotten too much. There's too much danger, too much risk, so they don't want to do it anymore. What's that telling you? They can't even keep people in the job, let alone replenish them. An ambition target, let's cut it by 5%. Awesome. So it's also going to be growing in that time too. So if you cut it by 5%, it probably remains flat or it's still grown. As I said, mate, I love living in Australia. I really do. I think it's great, but it's directly linked to immigration. It has to be. We never had, we did, but you'd hear about crimes. There's always crime and stuff like that, but this is ballooning now because we're letting in so many people who have disregard for the law. They don't assimilate. They want nothing to do with our cultures, customs, or respect police in any way. They don't give a shit. I'm not saying this is just something that's just started. I'm not calling out any specific group. But let's be real about it. When you see all this footage, they're either people of African backgrounds or Middle Eastern looking. That's it. I'm not saying that everyone from those backgrounds commit crimes. It'd probably be a very, very small minority. But they're very prolific when you see the footage. And they would never call it out, never say, what is the background? What were the features of the people committing these crimes? Because that's racist. You can't say that.
Just that we've lost 100 recently, but we're down to 1,000 frontline officers in Victoria. And we know there was a big drive out of Queensland to recruit our police, saying, come up, join the police force in Queensland. We are tough on crime. Bracket, your premier's not. And they exodus, right? A lot have gone to Queensland. Is that part of the problem too? Frontline police have lost faith.
Yep.
They lock the person up. It's just cycled out and get on the street the next day.
They're just treading water. That's all the frontline police, and you do get despondent. Yeah. All the work there to do, and that then fuels the unsolved cases in relation to it. It's like America. I remember in New York many years ago, and that was turned around by Giuliano, of saying that if they can't solve a job in 24 hours, bang, next job. Now, where we are at the moment, the whole system is loading up the frontline police. They've only got so much time that they can attend, and it's prioritised. Family violence takes up 6 or 7 hours of a shift, so forth and so on. The incumbents upon doing paperwork, even though Bush has said he's going to try and streamline that with a new computer system, to be able to solve a big call, said he's going to reduce crime by 5%. He hasn't got the tools. It's top-heavy at the wrong end, and I can tell you there's 2,500 people in corporate at Spencer Street, sworn officers doing work there. Now, that's top heavy there. They should be loaded up, take the sworn officers. I know what John said about, well, they will then leave. Well, too bad. You're a sworn officer. Part of the solution is you are now, take your pick, Dandenong, Broadmeadow, Sunshine, wherever you want to go. You need to do that, give the frontline respite, and then top heavy them up and say, okay, now the unsworns will then get them loaded up, and don't load up the frontline police. Support them as best you can. But I think Bush has certainly got his hands full in relation to try and turn things around.
Can't they use unsworn people to do the grunt of the paperwork?
Yeah.
The sworn officer then comes in, reads the report of the theft he might have been at yesterday or the home invasion,
Correct.
signs it off as accurate, and then gets back out on the road.
That is absolutely prime, because they're doing running shoots. The detectives do diaries, whatever the case may be. The police of today become statisticians.
Absolutely.
That's what they are.
I've seen it firsthand when I've interacted with the police. They've come and looked at a theft, or they've visited my premises where I live and dealt with an issue, but they're so loaded down in paperwork.
Yep.
It's very hard even to get them on the phone to come back. Just quickly, I've got to ask you, we've got a biological male convicted of a sex offence against his daughter. He is
That's again, I talked about this yesterday. This guy should be not even in jail doing that. That is the lowest of the low. That is disgusting. Makes my stomach turn. Piece of crap.
pedophile. The little girl is 5 years of age. She was sexually abused. He is in a women's prison in Victoria. Do you think women in that prison are safe?
Look, with this particular case, and I understand he's been psychologically assessed in that type of thing, look, I think they are safe, because you've got the likes of, say, Erin Patterson, for example. Now, she's been put in isolation for her own safety, and they're assessing it. Now, the prison authorities, they've got a duty of care to look after their prisoners. What do? You've got this particular person who's saying, I'm now female, and then I think there's others in the system.
Well, there's known to be 7. We don't know if there are 7 currently. Right. But given what we know usually happens to pedophiles when they're in a male prison, there's a bit of rough justice, particularly if they've abused children.
Very well deserved. Very well deserved. Even criminals have a code. Mess around with kids and the vulnerable, you are going to get it. They're probably going to do to you what you did to that vulnerable person, and 5 times worse than that every day.
Surely, a lot of pedophiles are going to take this course of action. In Victoria, you can say you're a woman the next day, and you are a woman as far as Jacinta Allen's concerned. Why wouldn't they say that as a matter of course to get into a women's prison?
Yeah, well, they can. And then they've got to start, I think this has come upon them, but they haven't got a policy in place. Our pedophiles, police, priests all get set up to our rat. That's a protective prison there. Maybe we should be looking at something like that to say, you know what, you're a particular gender that you claim you are, but you're a biological male. How is that fair to the women in relation to it? And I know there's a lot been said with Maura Deeming and the likes in the group that she's involved in, and I don't disagree with them, because you would be uncomfortable in relation to it. But I think they are safe, but they are assessed quite significantly by the courts.
And just quickly, that sentence, 2.5 years, what do you make of that?
Well, I think it's weak, especially when here you have an individual that's abused his 5-year-old daughter. We've got to start turning things around. You look at the figures of how our crime's increased. And I put an example last week. I said, next Saturday at the grand final, go and stand in the middle of the MCG and look around 100,000+. Everyone is a victim of crime. You've got to start humanising it. They're not just figures, because there's a flow-on effect from their mental anguish, the economy, insurance, the hospitals, and it flows on. So it's a bigger thing.
That's such a great point. They talk about numbers and stats like they're not real people. One of my thoughts on this trans PDF file, they should be straight into a man's prison. Right? They're just taking the absolute piss going in there, because you know what? These women aren't going to be able to do anything to him. Him, all right? Him, not her, him. All right, halfway through, if you liking the content, sub, like, comment, share, all that sort of stuff, and hype the video. That always helps it out. Let's get the channel growing. And once again, I just want to say to everyone, thanks a lot for watching me every day. I know a lot of you people do start to tune in and make it part of your day. It's much appreciated, because the channel is growing, and I just wanted to say it doesn't happen without you. All right, let's keep going. Good old Danica, she loves a good rant. She's a woman of my own heart, actually. She's scathing. She loves getting stuck in the elbow. Let's hear it. So this is about the Manchester attack that's happened just overnight, where I'll let them tell you about it, right? But it's bad, and this stuff is going to start coming over here.
But first tonight, we knew it would happen, and it has. Jews have been murdered at their own place of worship. After 2 years of taunts, anti-Semitic attacks, pro-Palestine rallies, threats and intimidation, all bobbing along, festering, growing and growing, someone has actually gone and done it on the holiest day on the Jewish calendar, Yom Kippur. 2 Jews murdered in cold blood in a terror attack on Western soil. Well, here it is, ladies and gentlemen. The globalised the intifada, that anti-Israel brigade preach week in, week out.
All that stuff will come over here now. There'll be violence on both sides of this spectrum. We have all this political stuff going on. It's very, very dangerous. And they need to really crack down on all these protests and all of that, because all it does is it fuels hate and it makes it okay for people to be aggressors towards each other and say these hateful messages. But, you know, freedom to protest, they're all friendly apparently. They're all friendly. They're not waving around ISIS flags and, you know, wearing ski masks and setting fire to the Australian flag and all that. No, it's just, you know, they just want to show their concerns and be heard. I'm telling you, like, we're gonna have an event here. We're gonna have an event here. This whole Palestine thing, this is gonna blow over into something just like this on our soil.
Out that we hear, it's happening in front of our very eyes.
Spot on.
It's yet another day of thoughts and prayers and condolences to the community. Forget it. We're too late now. Way too late. The horse has bolted. And the scary part is, don't think it can't happen here. In Manchester on Thursday morning local time, 2 people were killed when a car was driven into crowds at the Heaton Park Hebrew Congregation Synagogue. The victims were then stabbed to death. Here is how it unfolded, and a warning, this vision is distressing.
Armed police, their guns trained on the suspected attacker.
Get back! If you're not involved, move back! Get away! Somebody stay with
I like it. They're screaming at it. There's this old bloke standing there. He's not even moving. He's not even flinching. Why would you want to watch this?
Somebody else! He has a ball! Go away!
He's got a bob on him. Mate, he's got a...
They tried to get members of the public away.
Man, he's got a bob on his jacket, mate. He's trying to go into school. Mate, he's stabbed him. He's got a gun. No, he's got a bob. Get out
A
of here.
victim of the attack lies on the floor.
Mate, if he detonates... Mate, I'm just jumping out of this in a minute. He's going to blow himself up. He's trying to press the button.
When the attacker ignored their instructions.
Man, shoot him!
Whoa.
The terrorist has been identified.
Like, this is what we're bringing in. That's what's already here. These ideologies are here. Call me a racist. Just doesn't mix. It doesn't mix at all.
Identified as Jihad al-Shami, a 35-year-old British citizen of Syrian descent. He was shot dead by police at the scene. UK police have now confirmed 3 people have been arrested and are being held on suspicion of commission, preparation and investigation of acts of terrorism. They are 2 men in their 30s and a woman in their 60s. And the saddest part of all this is, are we even surprised that it's happened? Now, I hate to say it, but I'm not. Hate has been allowed to fester in democratic nations around the world, and we certainly aren't immune.
Yeah, it's allowed to fester because we have wide open gates. Wide open. Everyone's just flooding in here. It's happening in Europe. It's happening in the UK, Australia, the US. I'm not saying all the people from these backgrounds are like that, but these are culturally ingrained attitudes, and there's no change in them. They don't want to come and be a part of it. They want to bring their stuff to these countries and our country. this type of behaviour, this complete disregard for human life. It's already here in Australia. And as I said, we talked about crime at the start of this. You know, we've got the African gangs, Middle Easterns running around with bloody machetes hitting people with them. You know, just blatantly walking into people's houses, stealing cars, bashing people in their own house. Blatantly stealing and swarming shops and taking their stuff. 300,000 unsolved crimes, up 75%. There's a direct correlation here.
West is losing the fight, and it sits at the feet of woeful, weak and incompetent leaders like Anthony Albanese, like UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer. When you demonise Israel, reward terror, turn a blind eye to hate on home soil purely for politics, it creates the perfect environment for anti-Semitism. This attack in Manchester is a consequence. Someone has taken it into their own hands. The world is a soup bowl of hate, entrenched in an ideology which is being thrust upon Western democracies under the guise of healthy and sustainable multiculturalism. Now, we cannot sugarcoat this anymore because we are losing the battle.
It's already lost. There's already too many here. What are you talking about? Too many people that will act in a certain way or has the ability to. As I said, I'm not saying everybody who comes in here does these things. 99.99% of people won't, but that's still the amount of migration we're having from these third world countries. That 0.1%, that's a lot of people. And that's a lot of people who ruin it for everybody else who wants to come over and have a great start and enjoy Australia and be a part of it. Or get away from their bad circumstances in their countries and, you know, even if they don't assimilate, they keep to themselves. It's just, it's far too gone in my opinion. But you know, you got the bleeding hearts in, you know, inner city suburbs, you know, who'll never experience any of this stuff until it's too late. Oh no, we need to keep migration up. Now all the people going through the university system at the moment, the education system, where all the woke ideologies are spread, they want more migration. Let them in. What are we talking about?
Jews have now been murdered in a place where they should feel the most safe. How many more warnings do our leaders need? Yet a conga line of them fell over themselves at the United Nations 2 weeks ago and recognised Palestine, including Anthony Albanese. And who gave him and Keir Starmer a pat on the back? Hamas. So again, are we really surprised at what has happened overnight? The haters have been emboldened and have been...
Apparently, you know, Albo was there saying it's the view of Australia and the Australian people and all that. No one asked me. Didn't put that to referendum. Just went off and did it. Went off and said it on our behalf. These politicians don't care about the voter base or the general population, which they're supposed to be working for. We pay their wages. All they do is exploit and take the piss out of us and make horrible decisions that affect our lives now, but not so much our lives now, the future generations that are going to grow up. What's this joint going to be like in 30 years? It's going to be absolutely effed. Absolutely effed.
Been given a tick of approval. And again, don't think that this can't or won't happen here in Australia.
I reckon it's going to happen. And I said, it's coming.
The warnings are flashing right in front of us. Week in, week out, we are subjected to hateful anti-Israel protests. Flags of terror groups are being waved in our streets. Hate preachers brag about being elated by the Hamas terror attacks. The Australian and Israeli flags are set alight. A portrait of the Ayatollah of Iran is carried across the harbour bridge. Synagogues and businesses are torched. Iran is responsible for 2 of those attacks on home soil. Anti-Semitic slogans are graffitied on houses and businesses. Jews are intimidated day in, day out. Nurses are filmed on camera allegedly saying they would kill Jewish patients. And now in Manchester, it would appear someone has taken all of this a step further. Now, last night here in Sydney, as this attack was unfolding on the other side of the world, the anti-Israel mob were at it again. Hundreds took to the streets protesting against Greta Thunberg's flotilla being stopped by the IDF. They actually think that Greta and her merry band of followers are the real victims. Now, this video was
Don't get me started on Greta Thunberg. You know, she's got a chick with bloody autism or Down syndrome or whatever that they're, you know, waving around as a complete puppet. Doesn't even know what she's doing. She's a complete mouthpiece for the establishment. Social justice warrior.
Posted to social media by Stand for Palestine, a group established by his Butteria activists, a prescribed terror group in the UK. And now we're seeing activists wanting to hijack the Sydney Opera House for a second time to spread their message of hate and division. And they want to do this on October 12, 5 days after Jews paused to reflect on the second anniversary of the largest loss of life since the Holocaust. And I will have more to say about this planned protest later in the show, but I think the opposition leader, Susan Lee, summed up the mood today.
Tell us, Susie.
I just felt sick when I read through what had happened in the UK and the terror and the toxic hatred that underpins this hideous anti-Semitism. Now, we do need to draw a line in the sand when it comes to the protests that we continue to see in this country that are, at this point in time, completely counterproductive. They do come from a position of division and hatred.
And it spreads here. And you get, that's why these are the people that I'm bagging out all the time. You get all these Aussies, right, who live here, like Aussie people, social justice warrior, hippies, you know, soy latte drinking hippies going out and waving around the Palestinian flag. You got nothing to do with it. You know, you're a white Aussie dude. University students being indoctrinated to go and you know, protest for this. They're the people I bag out. Complete sellouts, looking for a cause, latching onto a cause they're not a part of. It has nothing to do with them. Anyway, I'm leaving it at that. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.